Who would have guessed an old school bus driver would be on a stage in front of 20,000+ people? How incredible. You know? Oh, this is for you, Maurice.
Thank you, Denny.
Thank you. All right, there we go. All right, so listen, let's jump right into this F1 more thing. That's it. Okay. You know what's so exciting is having the whole family here together. And to be able to see, you know, that we've got everybody in every stage of the journey. Some of you up there are new. Some of you, it's your first event. I mean, I know some of you, it's the first extravaganza. And some of you, it's even your first event. And you know, the part of the process of going through the journey to get from up there to down here, you know, it's a journey that takes us where we learn to overcome the obstacles that prevent us from getting the things that we want in our life. That's really what personal development is, isn't it? Overcoming the obstacles that prevent us from having the things that we want and doing the things that we want. And you know, when we first get started, there's lots of fears that come our way. You know, that fear of, you know, making that first invitation, the fear of making the first presentation, you know, the fear of doing that first evaluation. What am I going to do? Am I going to do it right? Am I going to say it right? You know? And then there's others who have been in it for a while, and their checks have gone up. And then in the journey, did you notice the people whose journey to Pres team, did you notice we didn't have a lot of these? What did they say? How many were saying, no, the journey to Pres team went like what? And some went like, you know, looked like a little squiggly board, you know? And when we go through those blips, what happens is many times fears and doubts come our way. Uh-oh, how long is this going to last? Hey, am I going to get out of this? Am I going to make it? Am I going to overcome it? Am I going to recover? Is it really going to happen for me? Can what happened to these down here happen for me? Those of you sitting back there? What I want to talk about today. Today I want to talk about the idea of developing and operating your business based on faith, not on fear. And I can't think of a better way to start than listening to the master himself, Mark Hughes. So let's watch this.
Having faith in the company, have faith in yourself, have faith in the products, have faith in us, because we're going to do the most unbelievable things you've ever seen in business history, okay? And the way I kind of see Herbalife someday in the future, okay, is kind of like, if you could imagine coffee and tea, okay, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, okay, nobody really thought coffee was going to be that big a deal and stuff like that. But today, what's the deal, okay? Even if you don't drink coffee, you have to have coffee in your house. And the reason you have to have coffee in your house is you want to be a good host, so that when people come over and say, well, what would you like to drink? They would say, well, I'd like to have some coffee. And it's kind of the way I see Herbalife. We're not that big yet, but someday when we get huge, you have to have Herbalife in your house.
So there's two words I want you to be able to pull out of that clip. Faith and imagine. Faith and imagine. And so when we look at fear, operating from fear or operating from faith, what did Mark say? We need to have faith in the product. We need to have faith in the company. We need to have faith in ourselves, right? And then he said, imagine. And he proceeded to tell us the vision that he had for the company. So, 2 questions. Do you have faith in the products? Do you have faith in the plan? Then the real question comes, the next thing he said was, imagine. So before we really get into it, I want to dare you to imagine. I want you to dare to imagine. Napoleon Hill said, what the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Napoleon Bonaparte, he said, imagination rules the world. And he just about did. And then there's this guy, pretty intelligent guy, actually. He says imagination is more important than knowledge. Now, Einstein says that. I mean, imagination more important than knowledge? Wait a minute. Knowledge is power. But imagination is more important than knowledge. So let's talk about imagination. See, imagination shapes my life. See, as I imagine, that's going to determine the direction that I go. See, great lives are built around great dreams, great cause, a great purpose. And that's one of the things that really got me in the very beginning. It wasn't the products, most certainly wasn't the plan. I heard the plan, saw the circles, and was ready to leave. Because I don't like sales. But when I heard Mark, those last 5 minutes, I saw a man with purpose. I saw a man with a cause, and I realized this was a company with a cause. And I thought, now that I can get behind. You see? Now, the problem is once we have this purpose, once we have the cause, once the dream is out there, the problem is doubt comes along. I know many of you up there say, okay, I'm hearing the stories, it sounds great. So I hear this voice here, yeah, listen, it can happen. Then I hear, well, yeah, but can it really happen? Doubt is the enemy of our imagination. And we need to have the courage to overcome the doubt. Listen to Jim.
Leader needs unwavering courage. And I don't know if I totally agree with the unwavering part of this or not, because sometimes our courage does waver a little. You know, bend but not break. You know, courage mounts up, and then sometimes we have the doubts that creep in, and we reach a little deeper to find that courage that overcomes our doubts and our fears. So I would probably debate a little bit with Napoleon on this unwavering courage, because sometimes courage does waver. But as long as it stays, as long as in the end there it is to serve you, the courage to do what you didn't think you could do, the courage to step into territory that might be a little unfamiliar, the courage to talk to somebody you don't know, the courage to attempt conducting a meeting, the courage to give your first testimonial, the courage to, you know, solve problems you couldn't solve before, that kind of courage. The courage to stand up when it's sort of dark in your corner, the courage to do it when it isn't going your way, seemingly. The courage to try to have a good day in the midst of a bad day, that kind of courage. Wavering a little at times, yes, because we all have doubts that attack us. We all have small fears that creep in. That is the nature of life. But that's what faith is all about. That's what courage is all about. To serve us when our doubts will not serve us well. Faith to overcome fear, and courage to overcome our doubts.
And that's what I want for you. I want you to be able to overcome your fears, overcome your doubts with faith. So here's what I would love to have you do. Doubt your doubts and believe your faith, believe your beliefs. Doubt your doubts and believe your beliefs. And I want to show you the security and the stability of how that will happen. See? So imagining, because when you think about it, in that sense, imagining is really living by faith. I'm imagining this future, and there it is. And by faith, I'm going to pursue it. So let me ask you again. We want to live by faith. Okay. Do you have faith in the product? Do you have faith in the plan? Okay. Then the key here is developing that faith. Do you know that you can cultivate faith? You can develop faith? You know, talk about a little faith, a lot of faith. You can develop your faith. We're going to talk a little bit about cultivating our faith. So the idea here is when we see with eyes of fear, it has consequences. It affects us. See, the problem is that we then begin to exaggerate our difficulties. Little difficulties in our mind become big difficulties. You know, we underestimate our own abilities. We know certain things. We have certain talent skills. Yeah, but can I use them? Will it work? Am I going to be able to get it done? We underestimate our own abilities because, you know, I'm afraid. Okay? We get discouraged. You say, well, I'm just not sure. Oh, gosh, it's not working quite as well because I'm already suffering the consequences of my ways. You know? We gripe. We complain about our lives and look at the circumstances. And we begin to let the circumstances run our life. And eventually we give up and we blame others. And then we wonder why. And so we've got to dispel and get rid of operating out of fear and operate with eyes of faith. This is not blind faith. This is not a blind faith. This is a faith that's based on truth. And when you have a faith that's based on truth, now you have something that is stable. Now you have something that will last. And when you've got that, then it has its consequences. When we begin operating on faith, knowing the security of it, then what we realize is that faith will shrink my problems because they're not that big. My faith is bigger than my problems. See? Faith opens the door to the possibilities. See? Faith will move truth to act on my behalf. Do you realize that if you align your life to truth, it will act on your behalf? If you align your life to living by truth, the things that are true, the things that are integrous, the things that are right, the things that are pure, the things that are lovely, the things that are excellent, if you align your life with those things, it will act on you. It'll act on your behalf. Faith unlocks all the doors, all the principles of success. Because principles of success are based on truth. And it also turns the dreams into reality. As we begin applying the truth, the principles of success, then the dreams become reality. And one more thing, it gives us the power to persevere, to continue on. Okay. So let's take a look at this clip by Jim, because you know this idea of cultivating faith for the future. See, this is the idea of being able to see that vision, to have that vision. You know, Mark had that vision. Listen to Mark. Listen to Jim here.
Now let me quote you from ancient script. Here's what it says. If you cannot see, you perish. You die. We've all got to have a future to work for. We've all got to have the ability to see something beyond ourselves, something beyond just today, something beyond just this week. The future, setting your goals. And a lot of people have asked me tips on how do you set goals. Let me just give you a simple little formula on setting goals. Vision of the future. Being able to see beyond today. Here's a little formula for setting goals. Number one, decide what you want. Get together with your wife and decide, what do we want? Get together with your husband and decide, what do we want? Get together with the family. Make some decisions. What do we want? Where do we want to go? What do we want to do? What do we want to have? What do we want to share? Then some of this has got to be personal. What do I want? What kind of skills do I want? What kind of income do I want? What kind of future do I see for myself? Not just for my family, but for me as well, because I'm going to have a major part in my family's future. What do I want? Get together and decide. Now here's number two. Write it down. Put it on paper. Sometimes you got to take things out of your head, not just operate out of your head. You got to take it out of your head and make a list. Make a list. Do the decision-making process and then just simply make a list. Write it down. Now here's number three. Keep the old lists. Keep the old lists of goals. One of the greatest signs of personal development is looking back on those old lists of goals. I look back at a list of goals I made 10 years ago, and I'm telling you, some things on there I'm a little embarrassed. Here's 10 years ago, here's what I thought was so important. Now I'm telling you, it's not that important anymore. I've grown, I've changed, I've matured. And I've got some of my goal lists that go back 20 years, 25 years. Some of those I won't even show anybody. Here's what I thought was so valuable. Now I understand so much better as my priorities have changed. Some of the things that used to be on the top of my list right now, I've learned are not that important anymore. Other things have taken place on the top of the list. So, number one, decide what you want. Number two, write it down. Number three, keep the old lists. And here's number four, check off. When you do get something that's on your goal list, check it off. The first time I came to Spain many years ago, I happened to have my journal with me that had the list of goals in it. One of them was to someday go to Spain. And I had that journal with me, and when the wheels touched the runway in Madrid, I got out that list and I checked it off. Okay.
Isn't that awesome? So we got to have a vision, and we want it to be big. And we say, well, you know, that's a huge vision, and I've got great plans, but I'm just not sure I have the faith to move forward. But remember what Jim said in the seasons at the beginning? He said, Mark said 400 million, and Jim says, oh, no, Mark, you want me to say it publicly? He said, I'm not sure I can see it. And he said, borrow my eyes. See? But now here's what I want you to realize. You know, my third, fourth year in the business, I mean, it was amazing what was taking place. And my mom says, you know, Dennis, things happen for you because you have so much faith. And I said, no, Mom, that's not true. Mom, it's not how much faith I have. It's what I put my faith in. It's the object of my faith, not the amount of my faith. Listen, if you want to put your faith in an 1/8 inch of ice that covers the lake and try to drive your car out there, I'd suggest you think again. But if you want to put your faith in 3 feet of ice on the lake, then you've got a better deal. Right? The object of your faith, not the amount of faith. You know, he says faith can move mountains. We've all heard that. But how much faith do we need? He said, a mustard seed. A mustard seed of faith. Why am I bringing this out? Because I know you up there don't have the same faith that these down here have. They have a lot of faith. They have a lot of results. They have a lot of experience. But how do you get down here? Just take that mustard seed of faith and plant it in something that's strong. It's the object of your faith. Do you believe in the products? Do you believe in the plan? Put your faith in the product. Put your faith in the plan. Put your faith in the company. It's bigger and stronger than we are. And as you continue the process, you can cultivate that faith. And that little mustard seed grows into huge flowers. So, really, what is faith? Faith is the assurance of things hoped for. It's the assurance. It's a sure thing. It's not a vague thing. It's not wishing and hoping. It's a sure thing. It's the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. I don't see it, but I still have the conviction. If I apply my mustard seed of faith in the right object, I too will sit down here. See, they say there's three things that remain: faith, hope, and love. It's faith in the past. It's faith in the truth. You know, they say if you don't learn from the past, you'll repeat it. But some things in the past need to be repeated. The things of success. And if we put our faith in the truth of the past, it gives me an assurance, not a hope, but assurance of a hope that's solid, a hope that is sure. This is not a wishing and hoping. This is a hope that is sure. It's as sure as the truth I put my faith in from the past. My faith will give me a sure hope for the future. And then all I got to do is love what I'm doing right now. And if I manifest that love today using the truths from the past, it gives me great hope for the future. So we have the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Yet. Because as you cultivate, as you take care, as you cultivate the crop, as you cultivate your faith, then it will become evident. It's hard to see 5,000 a month until you've made 1,000 a month. It's hard to see 10,000 a month until you've made 5,000 a month. You see? And as your faith grows, then you have a conviction of things not yet seen, but you know that it will take place. So how do we cultivate our faith? Our faith comes by hearing. And so we cultivate our faith. It comes by hearing testimonies. So we hear the stories. Each story, each one of your stories, the story for you in the highest seats in the furthest distance, your story is significant. Alan Rand says your story is worth a fortune. Your story. And it can be. Listen to what Jim says about the value of the testimonies and why you can go from up there to down here. Listen to this, Jim.
There's only two things that you have to qualify for to be a good Herbalife distributor and represent these products well. And here are those two qualifications. Make the note. Number one, if you're impressed by the testimonials, if you've been impressed by the testimonials that you've heard from people that have used these products, and you have been impressed to the extent that you say, I must call some people I know and make sure they use these products, whether I join the company or not. If that was your impression when you heard the Herbalife testimonials, then you will make a splendid Herbalife distributor. If that was your impression, if the testimonials about Herbalife products struck you that strongly, and you still feel the strength of that impact that the testimonials had on you all that some time ago, I promise you, you will be a splendid Herbalife distributor. Here's the next requirement to be a good Herbalife distributor, and that is willingness to go to work. Willingness to spend some of your time. I know some of you in this room may be part-time, and you can Herbalife will work well for you. You don't have to be full-time. Okay? You can be part-time because you can tell the story in little pieces of time. Before work, lunch hour, after work, weekends. Even though you have a full-time job, there's still plenty of time to tell the Herbalife story about these products. There's still plenty of time to tell the Herbalife story about the opportunity. And all you have to do is utilize whatever time you can spend in telling the story. And if you're willing to go to work and use what time you do have until someday looking forward to the time when you can be full-time with Herbalife, if you're willing to go to work in the time you've got and you're impressed by the testimonials of what these products do for people, then you will make a splendid Herbalife distributor. But that's all it takes. It doesn't take much capital. It doesn't take much money. You can start where you are. If you're scared, we'll show you how to start scared. We'll show you how to hand someone a brochure and just run away. But we'll show you how to make sure your telephone number is on the brochure. Guy gets home at night and says to his wife, Martha, you will not believe it. A grown man handed me this brochure and then he just ran away. She says, well, isn't that interesting? What is this brochure all about? And he says, I don't know. I haven't even looked at it. She says, well, let's take a look. So they look at this brochure. They see these stories. They say, let's call this man. So they call up this man and say, Bill, are you the man that ran away? And he says, yes, I just got started. I'm so impressed with these products and this opportunity, but I was scared to death. Yes, I'm the man that ran away. And they say, look, why don't you come on over and tell us the story about these products and this opportunity? So no matter where you are, no matter who you are, no matter how young or how old you are, no matter what kind of limited capacity you might be in, Herbalife is the opportunity for you because you can start right where you are.
You can start right where you are. Now, I have to admit, I do have an advantage. I have 35 years of stories. And so that's why we say collect the stories. As you listen to the stories, why don't we just share one story? Because one story doesn't reach everybody. Somebody's story is going to reach somebody else, and that's why your story is so important. Your story, not on my team, your story might impress my guest that gets me another diamond. Your story. Okay? So, faith comes by hearing the stories. The more stories you hear, the more identification you have, and the more growth you have in your faith is cultivated and begins to grow. Next, faith, cultivating our faith comes by trusting truth. Now, I just want to get rid of a little misunderstanding here about truth. You know, in today's culture, outside these walls here, a lot of people think, well, truth is relative. What's true for you isn't true for me. What's true for me isn't true for you. That's just not true. Truth is true. And truth is true for every country, every culture, every race, every religion, everybody. Now, let me explain. Let me expand. Truth is not relative, but our response to truth is very relative. How you respond to the truth, that's where the relativity comes in. See, there's the truth of gravity. It's true for every country, every culture, every city, every person, every. Gravity is truth. Now, how you respond to the truth is relative. If I jump off the top of the 100-story building with a hang glider on my back, that's one response. And I get the consequences of that response. If I jump off this building with a parachute, I get another response and another consequence. If I jump off the building without any parachute, I get another response. Now, if the guy says, hey, I just jump off, you know, you can even stick your head out on the 30th floor as he's coming down and say, how's it going? And he says, so far, so good. But that next 30 floors is very telling. So it's important for us to trust in truth because it has its consequences. Listen to this clip by Mark.
See, that's something you need to know about Herbalife. Because you know what? There's a lot of other companies out there that they'd say, you know what? So what, it hurt a few people. Look at all the business we're getting in. I don't care if it's the loneliest little housewife that got into the company to the top president's team member in this organization. And we have gotten rid of some of the top people in our company in the past. And it don't make no difference. Principles are principles. And this company is going to sparkle, and it's going to shine, and we're going to be respectable, and we're going to do it the Herbalife way. And so when you think about these things, I want you to think about, would Mark Hughes be making this decision? Because let me tell you something, the decisions you're going to make are not only going to be the Mark Hughes consequences, number one, but number two, doing it the Mark Hughes way for year after year after year after year. And that's what you want, gang. It may be a little more difficult in the beginning. It may take you a little longer to get to where you want to go. But let me tell you something. In the end, you will win. You will win. More important, just as important, we will win. And that's got to do with all the integrity of the company.
You see, when we trust in truth, we do win. We all win. See, this faith I'm talking about, it's not a blind faith, it's a faith in truth. It's based on truth. It's intelligent faith. Michael Johnson, sharing with the president's team, said, when intelligent people have the opportunity to hear and see the truth, we win. And we do. All of us win. Can you imagine trusting in a lie? How far would that get your business? Trusting in deception, how far would that get you in your business? See, when we trust in truth, it creates stability. It creates security. We know what we have. Okay? But when we don't, then it creates confusion and instability and uncertainty. Okay? You know, there's unknown truths, but there are no new truths. Did you ever realize that? There are no new truths. Now, they're unknown, but they're not new. Truth is truth. Truth has always been true. Truth will always be true. You know, they discovered how to fly. And you say, hey, look, there's a new truth as to how to fly. Well, no, that's not really true because birds had been flying for all these years. So it wasn't a new truth that they, you know, encapsuled. You know, it was a truth that had been away. They just found an application of the truth. And see, this is why we want to, you know, there's concepts which are constant, and then there's strategies that change. And so we have these concepts that in Herbalife are eternal. The use, word, talk concept is eternal. It's always true. Okay? Then the strategies will change. They come, they go. Okay? And so there's the difference. So once we begin building on these principles of truth, okay, then it comes, the development comes by submitting to my belief. I need to submit to my belief. I believe in the products. I believe in the plan. Then you need to submit to the products, all of the products. You need to submit to the plan. See? And when you do, it happens. Now, a lot of people say, I believe. See? My dad, he said, I believe in the products. And my dad took the product every day. Every day. I know because I lived with him. And he'd get up in the morning, he'd take his shake, he'd have his tablets. But after a year and a half, he really didn't have that significant of results. And you know what happened? He kept hearing testimonies. And he heard about the truth of the product. And finally one day he said, how come all these people are getting their results? And I'm not getting the same results. And I said, Dad, I said, you know, you've got to take your belief in the product and really commit it to action. See, my dad took the product, you know, instead of going 3, 2, 1, see, he went 3, 2, 1, tablets 3 times, shake 2 times, one meal, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 3. He took the product every day, but he didn't trust the truth of the plan. You don't follow my plan, you don't get my results. Right? But after hearing the stories, he finally said, okay, that's it. I am now going to submit to the belief that it will work if I do it right. You know, there was this famous tightrope walker, Charles Blondin. Guy was amazing. And he would take and he stretched the 1,100-foot rope across Niagara Falls, and he would walk back and forth, and he would, you know, he would do all kinds of things. And he had this deal where he took a wheelbarrow and he went back and forth, and then he took a sack of potatoes and threw it in the wheelbarrow, and he walked back and forth. And there was this duke from another country, and the guy's just so impressed. And he says, well, how many of you believe that I could put a human in here and carry them across? And everybody says, yeah, you thought you were at an Herbalife rally, yeah, go for it, we can do it, yeah, right? And he points to looking down there, he says, okay, he says, get in. You see, there's belief, and then there's belief. See, faith is belief to a point of action. So we need to act on what you know. You need to act on the stories that you've heard here this weekend. You need to act on the truths that Dr. Ignaro has shared with us. We need to put it into action. And as we submit and put them into action, then we need to persevere. Because as we put these things into action, we persevere through the process. Okay, did we listen to that action tape by Jim? Let's listen to this action tape by Jim. I don't want to miss that because it's so good.
Act on what you've learned and what you've got. Put these notes into action. It's action that turns ideas into reality. It's action that builds the city. It's the 6 days of labor. Yes, we now must rest one after 6 of labor. But don't get those numbers mixed up. 6 of rest, 1 of labor.
It's not rest that builds the city. It's not rest that builds the fortune. Yes, we must rest. But make this note, this is for leaders, potential leaders. Only rest long enough to gather strength. No more. The same is for food. Only enough food to gather strength. No more. Because the purpose of an object is not to eat. The purpose of an object is not to sleep. The purpose of an object is not to rest. The purpose is to build the city, build the university, build a career, build your good health, build an organization, build for the future. And from Michael Johnson on down to all of us, this is the whole key. Employ those 6 days out of 7 and see if you can't, with your own voice and with your own hands, build something that'll last for a lifetime for yourself and for your family and for your future. And pass it on to the next generation.
Awesome, man. So when our belief moves us into action, then we need to persevere through the process. When you plant that mustard seed of faith in the truth of what Dr. Ignaro talked about, in the object of our products and our plan, and you begin to cultivate, you still have to go through the process. And as we persevere, then the total transformation takes place. Jim has this great clip on transformation. Listen to this.
And transformation is part of the unique life process. The caterpillar that crawls on the ground for a share of his life, one day says, "Surely I was designed for something better than just crawling on the ground." So one day, driven by instinct and the genetic code, he climbs the tree, out on the limb, finds the right leaf, attaches himself to the leaf, and with great effort spins the cocoon. And when the cocoon is finished and the time has finally come, with great effort, this creature that crawled on the ground for a part of his life now breaks open the cocoon and with great effort struggles to set himself free. And once he's free, he now has wings. And when the wings are dry and the time has come, this creature that used to crawl on the ground now says, "I think I can fly. I think I can touch the sky."
Let's look at that caterpillar. How do you go from captivated crawling to flying freely? How do we do that? We've got to shed the things around us that are holding us back. What are the hurts? What are the habits? What are the hang-ups? What are the addictions that are holding you back? What's preventing you from moving forward to reach the possibility of your dreams? You know, you got this little caterpillar here, and what is that process? You know, it goes up, and you know, sometimes we just feel like life's closing in around us. And we're kind of wondering, you know, what on earth is all these things that are happening to me? My needs aren't being met. Okay? And sometimes the idea is not to meet the needs, but to change the needs. And the caterpillar creates this little cocoon, and it wraps up all the things that were holding it back, preventing it from flying. And after it gets it all wrapped up together, it sheds its skin so that it can fly. Now, I don't know if you know it or not, But the caterpillar actually dies. Did you know that? It's one of those phenomenal miracles in life. But it actually dies before it can fly. What do you need to die to? What do you need to shed? What do you need to get rid of that's holding you back? You know, is it people? Is it places? Is it things? Is it habits? Is it activities? Don't you think it will be worth it if you could get rid of those things that keep you crawling and give you a life that allows you to fly with the beauty of a butterfly? We got it. We just need to persevere through the process. It may take time, and a different time for each of us. And the last way to cultivate our faith is through community. You see, we hear the stories, we trust in truth, we submit to my beliefs, I put it in action, and then I persevere. And as I persevere, I don't have to persevere by myself. Isn't that exciting? I don't have to persevere by myself. We've got each other. We've got our own communities. And man, I tell you, Dr. Carmona just really laid that out, that it's so much bigger than we are. It's so much bigger than the product. It's so much bigger than the company. It's a cause that's much bigger than we are. And each of us have a part. Each and every one of us have a part. We can do it, but we can't do it alone. Listen to Jim on community.
So first of all, attitude is how you feel about the past. It's how you feel about the future. And here's the third one. It's how you feel about everyone. You got to have a good, mature attitude about everybody. Everyone in your family, everyone in your organization, everyone in the community, everyone in the world, everyone in your country. Got to have a good, healthy attitude about everybody, and here's why. You can't succeed by yourself. We all need each other to make our business successful. We need each other to make a successful life. You can't succeed all alone. One person doesn't make a company. One person doesn't make a corporation like Herbalife. One person doesn't make a country. One person doesn't make a symphony orchestra. One person doesn't make a community. One person doesn't make a powerful nation. Not one person alone. Doesn't make harmony. You can't have harmony with just one. Got to have more than one. So to have harmony and possibility and opportunity and future and the strength of the collective society, the collective organization, I'm telling you, it comes from all of us working together. So you got to have a unique sense of appreciation of everyone.
Everyone. Each of us need all of us need each of us, Jim says. You see, the assurance of the past truths and the stories and the testimonies and the effect and the result of the products can give us a great conviction and hope of a solid future of possibilities, even though we don't see them now. And you know, just a last thought with Jim. Jim was always so amazing. As we look and celebrate these 35 years, I think Jim would love to have us all be that light to the world that even Dr. Carmona talked about, that Michael talked about, that light to the world that they might see. And so as we close, let's get out our phones and our wham deals, and let's just enjoy and show for Jim and Mark the sky of lights. Watch this. Let's get our phones out and let's make this happen. God bless all of you.